Filming the Hunger Games franchise was emotionally intense and physically dangerous. Behind the sleek action scenes were hard work and real accidents.
Oh yeah, that is true.
From minor mishaps to moments that could have ended in disaster, the cast endured more than just acting challenges. Keep watching to discover the actors' real on-set experiences. Training like tributes. Before cameras rolled on the Hunger Games, the cast had to get themselves ready for the arena. The actors were sent to a boot camp where they trained together. That meant months of grueling workouts, weapons training, and learning survival skills. Some nailed it from the start, like Alexander Ludwig. He took to the physical demands like a natural, having already been athletic before filming.
Doing tons of hand-to-hand combat, fight training. It was really vigorous and very cool.
Other actors had to push through major struggles to keep up, like Isabel Furman.
It was a lot of work, a lot of hard work. We worked sometimes for 8 hours a day.
But the main cast members were those who trained the hardest. Before we go on, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more backstage stories and secrets. From zero to hero. Josh Hutcherson was pretty busy for many weeks before shooting, building up Peta's shape. To play a baker's son who lifts heavy flour sacks for fun meant the actor had to bulk up significantly.
So I had to put on about 15 pounds of muscle. That was quite an arduous task that involved a lot of chicken breasts, eggs, and more chicken breasts and protein shakes, and then a lot of weightlifting.
His training focused on strength building, which included weightlifting, resistance workouts, and core training. However, Hutcherson admitted he struggled with endurance and agility, but he kept pushing through to stay true to Peta's resilience. For Sam Claflin, becoming the charming trident-wielding Finnick didn't come easily. He had to undergo a total physical overhaul. First of all, that meant a strict diet.
It was like 5 months, 2 meals would be chicken and asparagus, and then my morning meal would be an egg white omelette. It was very dull, very, very dull.
And there was a punishing fitness routine that emphasized swimming, swordplay, and acrobatics. Sam revealed that while preparing for Catching Fire, he basically didn't have a life for 6 months.
But how fantastic did you look?
Well, my wife was happy.
By the way, all cast members were trained to be able to wield any kind of weapon. And it was important that the actors would feel comfortable with them.
But some of the blades were real metal. They weren't sharp, but they had weight to them. They could do some damage.
But by the time filming started, the cast had formed a tight-knit group of believable warriors. And the show's biggest star had to become a shooting pro. The reluctant athlete. Jennifer Lawrence admitted that Katniss was the most physically demanding role of her career. She had to completely change the way she moved, as her character was a skilled hunter. And by the time filming began, she had to fully embody her strength, speed, and grace. Although Lawrence had only 6 weeks to get ready for the arena, she described her training regime as pretty ordinary.
It's basically just normal working out, like circuits, weights, and yoga.
I did stunt training, so I did, wall climbs and vaults and jumps and all sorts of stuff.
However, she was just being modest. Jennifer's trainer revealed that the program was actually quite intense.
We'd have warm-ups, track drills, agility drills, medicine ball work, sprints, and then she'd have stationary bike rides, and stunt people trained her on how to climb trees and climb rocks and jump over logs.
But there was some special training too.
Do archery, obviously, try to shoot like 100 arrows a day before we start shooting.
The actress had never picked up a bow before landing the role. But within weeks, she was shooting like a pro under the guidance of Olympic archer Katuna Lorig. Unfortunately, even the most arduous training could not prevent on-set injuries. Deafening dedication. One of the most talked about incidents was Jennifer Lawrence's temporary hearing loss. For Catching Fire, she had to dive a lot.
I had a double ear infection from just being in the water all the time during Catching Fire.
And then there was a scene where Katniss narrowly escaped drowning during the arena's chaos. That moment, while thrilling on screen, led to a very real injury for Lawrence. A powerful water jet misfired and hit her directly in the ear. The blast was so strong it punctured her eardrum. So the actress went deaf in one ear for months. But it's just one of many wild on-set injuries that proved how challenging it was being in the franchise. Liam Hemsworth had an accident while shooting Mockingjay Part 2.
We were doing
broke your ankle.
a running scene, and I was right behind camera, and Jennifer was in front of camera, and there was a moment where I have to take over the camera, and I rolled my ankle on a rock, and I heard my ankle crack, and I went down really hard.
Sam Claflin didn't get through the filming unscathed either. The actor shared that doing his own stunts was so fun that he asked the producers to do more of them. However, he was so clumsy that it was only allowed a couple of times.
I broke my finger on set and I walked into a bush and nearly blinded myself, so I was a bit of a disaster.
Wow.
Yeah.
Indeed, his injuries weren't dramatic, but they were definitely painful. Carrying and fighting with Finnick's trident required a lot of skill, especially in dark, cramped sets. At one point, Claflin slipped on set and badly injured his hand, scraping skin and bruising his knuckles. But the hardest things about shooting there were not the dangerous stunts. Against the elements. Filming the movie series often pushed the cast to their limits. Josh Hutcherson, Jennifer Lawrence, and others performed under real rain and mud, scrambling through rough terrain during long shooting days. And there was one more vexing detail.
That was tough. The bugs were pretty brutal out there.
But that wasn't all.
We had bears, all sorts of other crazy creatures we had to deal with and stuff like that. But overall, it was beautiful. It was a great location.
Despite the discomfort, the natural settings weren't just backdrops. They helped ground the story in a raw, visceral reality we love the Hunger Games for. Another important element of it was the costumes. The Capitol Couture. Not every actor was thrilled about their wardrobe. Josh joked that he was always caked in dirt, blood, or sweat, and rarely got to wear anything comfortable. His Capitol outfits were more refined. However, these tailored pieces made movement awkward. Liam wasn't a fan of his heavy District 13 uniform in Mockingjay. Designed to be functional and militaristic, the outfit came with layers of armor and padding. While it looked undeniably cool, the reality of wearing it was far less appealing, as it trapped heat intensely. Josh Hutcherson also remembered struggling with the sweltering conditions.
We had to wear these jackets that are supposed to be futuristic, that when it's cold, they stay warm. When it's hot, they let the heat out. But of course, we don't have that kind of technology now, so when it's hot, you just are in a jacket.
Meanwhile, Sam had mixed feelings about Finnick's wardrobe, or lack thereof. Claflin was pressured to maintain his physique to fit the costume, which wasn't easy. Jennifer, in her turn, enjoyed the possibility of wearing different kinds of outfits. Her Capitol's elaborate costumes were visually stunning.
The dresses are always so lovely and fittings, and then you wear them for 12 hours a day, and then you want to burn them.
For example, Katniss's wedding dress weighed between 25 and 30 pounds. However, even her clothes designed for practical use became tiresome. This was especially true during demanding action sequences, but it was Elizabeth Banks who was wearing the most elaborate outfits as Effie.
She represents the excess of the Capitol, so excess was our code word, it was like more.
Every look was meant to distract, to dazzle, and to contrast painfully with the poverty of the districts. But wearing them wasn't exactly a dream. Elizabeth revealed that many of the pieces were so tight and heavy, she could barely move. Moreover, she couldn't sit down in half of them. And if she managed to do it, that's how it looked.
That's me sitting in the middle of a field, because that's our start point.
But Banks never complained, and actually felt privileged to wear such exquisite dresses. Ultimately, overcoming these challenges was totally worth it for the Hunger Games cast, especially with all the love they got from fans around the globe. Want to see more of how your favorite movies and shows are made? Click on the subscribe button. And thanks for staying with OSSA Movies.